What's up, everybody? PJ Braun here, president of Blackstone Labs, and I'm here at Pure Life Gym in Boca. This is a brand new gym. They have another one in Delray. I actually just signed up here. It's like 0.8 miles from my house, so maybe I'll walk here and do my cardio here. But one thing I love about this gym is not only is it well equipped and well put together, but they have awesome light. And all bodybuilders and bikini competitors and fitness competitors are always looking for that ideal light. Well, they were kind enough to let us shoot here today. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Coach K, because Coach K, Coach is the owner of this gym, Bethany, and who we just met, who's in phenomenal shape, by the way. And they were the ones that just said it was absolutely okay for us to do this, because they know that we're awesome too. So if you're in Boca, come check this place out. But for now, I'm not even here to train today. I'm here to teach you guys proper posing and presentation in bodybuilding. I will do the same video for the ladies eventually. But the past week or so with all the guys that I have competing, we have been shooting tons of training videos, but not any posing stuff. So when these guys come to me for pose, I'm like, man, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong. Spent 2 hours with somebody the other day going over a routine. I realize there's so many young people that don't know how to pose right. There's not enough information on the internet, and I was able to learn from a great coach, Kenny Wallach, who's coached all of the best bodybuilders in the world, makes a living teaching people how to pose. I was very fortunate to have him working with me a few times a week before he was even working with anybody other than Guy Nino and Evan Centopani when we were kids, and I've used all those things that he instilled in me to help people perfect themselves. So I have no interest in being a posing coach, but anybody that works for me or is on my team, I'm happy to help them be the best that they can be. I'm gonna walk you guys through each pose step by step. And you're probably gonna learn more than a few things on what to do to display yourself properly and what you might have been doing wrong. So without further ado, my freak is here.
Naked.
Now you can tell, guys, from the first time I showed his physique till now, he's actually a lot leaner. So he's heavier and leaner because I'm kind of good at this shit. And I'm very pleased. I still want him to be much bigger, but I'm very happy with his condition. So we're inside of, what are we, 12 weeks out?
We're like 11 and a half.
Yeah, so we're inside of 12 weeks out now from southern states. I still have him eating a lot of food. In fact, he needs to eat more. And about 8 weeks out is we're gonna start ramping things up. So for now, I just want him, he's the kind of guy that's going to grow into a show, so I'm just going to have him keep on growing. As you see, he's getting harder and harder, and this is the first time that we're going to really work on posing. We've spent 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, going over stuff, but now I'm going to really start perfecting what he's doing so he can practice the right way on his own. And we're going to start out with just our quarter turns, which is when you walk out on stage and you're doing the relaxed poses, which is anything but relaxed. You're going to do these first, and you're going to do them in a lineup with a bunch of other people doing the same thing as well. And they're very odd poses because although you're relaxed, you're actually tensing everything, and you've got to learn what's best for your physique. So we're going to use Dana as our test subject for everything, and we're going to go through from top to bottom, or I should say bottom to top, floor up, on how to do this all the right way. So let's make sure we get his whole legs in. So I want them to see step by step. They're going to have to see his whole. When doing the front relaxed pose, we're going to start from our base, from our feet, from the balls of our feet first. So you're going to have to play around based on the structure of your body where you actually want your stance, but they should be around shoulder width apart. Now, if you're somebody with very narrow legs, guys, you have to play around with foot positioning. Maybe your inner thighs are bigger. Maybe you have very good outer sweep. Depending on the way that your muscular structure is, will depend on how you stand, because you want to highlight your strengths and hide your weaknesses. Now, Dane has overall just big legs. He doesn't have deep separation yet, but the actual size is big. So for that reason, I'm having him have a very sturdy base. We're not doing anything fancy with leg placement or anything like that, just a good sturdy base, about shoulder width out, and slightly out with his toes, because we're going to be able to flare the quads a little more and present even more thickness there. Now, when he's completely separated, you'll see all the different separations through his muscles. So the first thing he's doing is setting his feet. You always set your feet first. You set your feet, flare your quads, and then he's going to lift himself up, expand his rib cage, and flare his lats out. Now, a lot of guys, when they do this, they don't know what to do with their arms, okay? The last thing that you want when you're hitting these poses to have big spaces. The judges don't like lots and lots of spaces. So if your arms are way out like this, like I see some guys do, that actually, not only does it make you look inexperienced, it will make your symmetry thrown off, and it will make you look smaller. You want to be tighter when you're doing it, okay? You'll see there's not big spaces between his legs either. So when you hit your relaxed pose, you've got to remember the judges are looking up at you. So some guys have a tendency to lean back too far, and that's the last thing that you want to do, because you're going to be taking away from your symmetry and your lines, and they're going to be looking almost up more at your core. So you want to be up tall and proud when you hit this pose, okay? Your arms just resting on your flared lats, and your arms should be able to just drape right here. Everything is tensed. Calves, quads, inner thighs, core is pulled up. Rib cage is expanded and filled with air. And the arms are tensed but sitting on the lats. This is a perfect front relaxed pose. Keep that chest up nice and high. Now let's relax for 1 second, Dane. A common mistake that people make is do the same thing but like lean and crunch your abs in. People think I want to make my abs look good, so they crunch down like this and they lean forward. Now there is one gentleman who can look good leaning forward like that no matter what, and that's Ronnie Coleman, because he's just that big that it doesn't really matter. He can just hulk forward like that and just look that good. But if you look closely when you're actually at a bodybuilding show, not in a photograph, because photographs are shot from different angles, when you're at a bodybuilding show, they're up, as big and proud as they can be, opening everything up. And that's how you've got to be to display everything, to show the full size, to show the separation. Psychologically, it may throw you off, because you're like, oh, I'm spreading my stomach out. I want to crunch them down. I want to show my abs. There is a shot for that, and it's called the abs and thigh pose. This is to show everything as symmetrical and balanced as possible. All right, so let's go back to our front relax. Hit it. And we're going to quarter turn to the right. Now this is the side relaxed pose. You always quarter turn to the right. They never, ever, ever quarter turn to the left. That is like blasphemous in bodybuilding. Okay, so you always practice quarter turning to your right, being smooth in your transitions, and when you go into your side pose, it is the same thing. We're starting from the floor and working our way back up. Now I'm gonna have him relax for a minute, because I'm gonna show you guys a little tip, because people are always like, where do I put my feet in the side poses? So this is great because there's a line on the floor right here. So when you're on stage, guys, there's gonna be a line on the floor, and there'll be little dots that you're supposed to stand on for your line, right? But you'll have a line, so with your eyes, you're gonna go right up to that line, okay? That's your marker. No matter what, you have that. This line is also a parallel line, so you know, if I do this, I'm running parallel with the judges. Now, this is a little trick that Kenny taught me years ago. Most people are just gonna walk up to the line and they're just gonna turn sideways, they're gonna look at the line, they're gonna make sure they're on the line, right? So when you're in your side poses, this is just a little trick. I'm gonna show you the difference for what I see in the common beginner versus somebody that's experienced and knows how to do this the right way. And this is gonna apply to all your side poses, not just your mandatory quarter turns. It's gonna be your side chest, your side tricep, everything. We start from the floor. Here's our parallel line, right? A lot of people, they just stand with their legs together in this pose, okay? So what you're gonna do, you're gonna very slightly angle this back leg away. Very slightly. So here's completely parallel. We're gonna pick maybe 30 degrees, okay? And you're gonna take this front leg and you're gonna dig your heel right in. Obviously I have sneakers on, and these, as far as soles goes, these are not the ones that he's posing in. But you're gonna dig this right in here, like this, and you're gonna turn, see how just when I did that, this line came out on my leg, right? You're gonna turn from your actual hip bone. So you're actually rotating your hip bone, and when you do that, your back leg, this plant leg I call it, is pushing into your hamstring, right? And it's making it so the muscle is easily popped out and fired, and you don't have to worry about anything because it's pressed against that back leg. So you're using that back leg as a lever. So if I didn't turn, you can see where my torso is here. I'm actually facing slightly away, so I'm gonna rotate my actual hip bone and then finish out by coming into my next part of the pose, which is, we'll get to that as well. So this is something, when you guys do your side poses, same thing. I see guys taking steps and having spaces, right? When you do your side chest, anything from the floor, you tuck in against this back leg and you're pushing back. By pushing back, you're able to belly the hamstring out more. You're able to get, if I'm just standing there, you're losing it and you're getting more spaces that you don't want. I sometimes see guys step back when they do it too. You never do that. You want everything tight together, but rotate through your torso. All right, so now, from the floor again. Keep that pressed into the other one though. So keep your foot pressed into it too.
This one?
Yep.
All the way? Okay.
And then you're twisting slightly through here. Good. So guys, the side poses are a little tricky because you're not gonna know where you want to put your arms. The best advice that I can give is judges don't want lots of space. So I see these guys they're doing all this stuff like this. They don't want you to do that. They want you as compact as possible so they can look at all the symmetry and definition and muscularity as it is together as a whole. So the back arm, what you're gonna do is you're gonna internally rotate the shoulder in a little bit so you can flex your pec in and contract this. The front arm, you're gonna keep tensed and pulled against your body just back here like this. Now, what I tell people is resist yourself hard so you can flex your tricep and your delts as well. When you're in position, when you're ready to hit this side pose, you also want to exhale all the air out of your body and pull that stomach in. When you exhale all the air out, you're gonna fire the obliques and flatten your stomach out. Also, the same thing I told you guys about leaning forward, see he's leaning slightly back on this. So we're gonna have him come forward a little bit more, suck your stomach in, exhale hard. There you go, and now we're gonna bring this back just a little bit. See how compact and thick he is now? There's no spaces that are taking away from his physique. You want everything as tight as possible. Now, I have seen some guys pose their back arm forward like this. I have always been told not to do that. However, I have seen some pros do that, but I've always been told not to do that by most of the big judges that I talk to. And granted, most of you guys that are watching this video are not pros. What up, Kevin? But if you are watching a pro show, as good as these guys are at posing, you're not being judged like that. So you're gonna wanna pose to the NPC standards. Gary Udit, when I was young, had a great instructional video that was out. You can probably still get that on their website, but they're gonna teach you that they don't want all these spaces. So we're gonna start from the floor, go back into this pose. So he's tensing from the floor. He's pushing his hamstring in, he's squeezing his glute. He's up nice and tall, he's compact, arms are back, there are not big spaces. And guys, practice this all the time because you're already getting tired, aren't you? Holding your body like this for a long time is not easy to do. It's very difficult. This will help your condition, it will burn fat, and it will bring out the detail in your muscle. So now we're in our rear relaxed pose. Much like the front relaxed pose, the positioning is gonna be about the same, but there's gonna be a couple things that you really have to be aware of. The judges are looking at the backside of your body, so you've gotta make sure you're displaying everything here. Now, he's got the up to the calf Dorian Yates style socks, except his are white. You can see he has massive calves, which is something that sadly either you're gonna have or you're not, guys. So to think that you can just go and do some donkey calf raises and walk out with something like this is sadly not gonna happen. But when you are in your back shots, you want to use as much as you have as far as weapons. So if you do have really good calves, you want to make sure you're tensing those things hard too. A lot of people just forget and they just stand there. So what he's doing with his feet is he's gripping the floor with his toes and he's got a little bend in his knees that he's pushing so he can bring the separation out through his hamstrings. And he's squeezing his glutes because when he's super lean, that's going to bring out all the striations and detail there. Now up top, he's opening up his lats as wide as he can. And he's just very, very slightly leaning back, guys, because the judges are looking up at him. So if he is totally upright or even leaning forward, he's gonna narrow himself out more. Now, as far as where his placement is, with his arms and everything else, it's essentially the same as the front relaxed. You just have to take into account that they're looking up at you, okay? So I already went through execution on this one, so I'm gonna have him just hit it, and we'll see if he's doing anything wrong. Everybody is gonna have a side that they're not as comfortable on. Make sure you practice that side even more if you have to. So again, we're gonna keep this pulled nice and tight. The less spaces, the better. We're gonna internally rotate this in, pull your stomach in more. There you go. See how much of a difference that is, guys? When the judges are looking at you, he just took a couple inches off of his stomach. I always tell people, focus on sucking it out, sucking all that air out, emptying everything so your waist is as small as possible. And we're gonna face front. So now, I'm gonna run them through these, just a couple seconds, just so you can see what it looks like going through when you're on stage. So, front relaxed. Quarter turn to the right. Exhale. Exhale more. There you go. Just down a little bit. Quarter turn. Return. Look at forward over your head. Now guys, once you get to the point where you're starting to get real close to the show, you're gonna have to practice without a mirror because there's no mirror when you're on stage to look at to make sure you're doing stuff right. So one thing I start doing with my guys is I won't let themselves look at the mirror. We're very like juvenile with our posing right now, so I'm okay with him looking in the mirror. In these poses though, you're gonna wanna really practice without a mirror, guys, as much as you can. Use the mirror, use a video camera to study yourself, but do it without the mirror too. Face front. So you'll do this, guys, in a group of people. Let's say that there's 15 guys in your class. There'll either be one group of 7, one group of 8, or maybe they'll do 3 groups of 5. But they're gonna compare you guys all in these poses, bring you backstage, and then they're gonna bring you out for the actual mandatory poses for a symmetry and muscular round. So in these poses, you're gonna hit all the mandatory poses, and basically what they're doing is who looks the best in each pose. Who's got the best front double bicep? Who's got the best back double bicep? So you're gonna make sure that you do these to perfect what you're presenting. Don't look at Ronnie Coleman and be like, well, Ronnie Coleman does it like this, so that's how I'm gonna do it. Don't look at this person. You've gotta study your own physique and figure out what is the best way to display your physique. The way that I hit certain poses is not the way I'm having him hit certain poses. When I hit my side chest pose, I hit my side chest very, very high. Almost more old-fashioned like an Arnold Schwarzenegger, where Dane, I'm actually having him rotate more, kind of like a Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman type of thing, because he's got so much size and his obliques look good from the side that I want him to display himself a little bit differently. This is all things that you're gonna do based on your physique. My side chest is a very good arm and chest pose for me. Those are 2 good body parts for me. His is showing the width of his shoulders a lot more, and the fact that he does have a small waist. Now your legs, the main difference in poses like that is just how much you're gonna sit or stand up. But for all these poses, there's little tweaks for your own physique that are gonna make you be the best that you can be. And we're gonna start out with a front double bicep. Now I like Dane to have his feet together. Now Dane, do this same pose with your one leg out. Very common, you're gonna see this a lot. For now, I prefer him feet together. But if when the lines start coming out more and if he's got a big separation in his sartorius perhaps, I may make him change it. This is a little bit more aesthetically pleasing maybe, but I don't think that he can show the same thickness in this pose. So for now, this is where I'm not having his feet. Back to them together. So what's good for him is that he can keep practicing this stance in all his front poses. Now you're coming up in the front double bi, you're standing nice and tall, you're opening up. You're not crunching down. Now he can do that if he wants to, but he's gonna lose a lot of thickness through his lats. And he's gonna lose all the separation through here. And a common mistake that I see guys make is they put their elbows too high, which you lose your lats when you do that. Or they sit down and they close themselves off too much. Okay, so you wanna be opened up nice and big and proud when you hit this shot. You see his rib cage is expanded, everything's opened up perfectly. We're starting from the floor and we're working our way up. So if we relax for a second and then hit it all perfect together. Quads are flared, gripping the floor with his feet. Rib cage is expanded and open, standing nice and tall and proud. You can see when he breathes, all the separation coming out through his abs. Arms are perfectly even with the floor, biceps are flexed, and relax. From here, we're going to go into a front lat spread. Now this is one that most guys have the hardest time hitting. The front and rear lat spread are awkward poses, and you can't really see what your back is doing unless somebody's videotaping you or you can look in another mirror. So a lot of guys will do it and they're not really opening their lats the right way. Now depending on your flexibility of your shoulders, depending on how beat up maybe your scapula are, these are all things that are gonna affect how you hit this pose. Dane is extremely stiff through his shoulders, so I've got him getting deep tissue massage now from Deanna once a week, and he may need more than that. He's gonna have to work on some stretching and stuff as well, because as he keeps training harder and getting bigger, he's gonna get tighter and tighter, and the mobility in that joint is going to be bad, and I don't want him to end up like me where I actually can't hit these poses anymore. And that's also one of the main reasons why I definitely wouldn't compete. With all my shoulder injuries making my shoulders not only look bad, but they actually won't. So my left shoulder, you can see I'm starting to open up. My right shoulder's locked. I can't flare my lat on this side. So where normally I would be able to just go right into it, see this left one I'm going right in, my lat's out, the right one won't go. And without all the stem cells and everything else that I want to do, it's probably not going to happen, even with all the massage and treatment that I get. Him, he's still healthy despite all the broken bones and everything else he's had playing football. We want to make sure that he stays healthy so we can execute these the right way. So, the front relaxed, the foot placement is exactly the same as the front double bi. It's exactly the same. So, easy thing for most of you guys to remember when you're practicing. In your front relaxed, in your front lat spread, in your front double bi. In the beginner stage, practice with your legs even, okay? I rarely see anybody go off of that in anything other than the front double bi. Now the front double bi, you can play around with your stances based on what's good about your legs. And again, some guys are gonna have really dominant quad sweep. If you do, you're not gonna wanna take away from that. I don't. So for me, when I got in really good shape, I could show a lot of separation through my inner thighs, which I'm not lean enough to do that. And I wanted to play around with my legs to open all that stuff up. As he gets lean, we may do that with him. For now, I just want to show the pure thickness of his legs. So you get to start learning this base, as I call it, with a bunch of poses. So the front double bi, you got your base, boom, you're opening up. Lat spread, you got your base, and instead of opening up tall, you're opening up, boom, just like when you do a front relaxed, but it's trickier because now you're doing it with your hands on your hips. And some of you guys are gonna have to hold it a little higher, some a little lower. You're gonna figure it out on your own. But what I always tell people is when you start back here, okay? No matter how flexible you are, because when you're coming forward, you're gonna end up closer to your hips where you need to be. It's just a matter of where they're gonna be based on your structure for your shape. So Dan, let's come over and hit a front lat. And he's gonna open. So you see how he just opened all those lats all the way up? Legs are flared. He's gonna just come forward just a little bit because the judge is leaning up at him. Now he's flexing his pecs too, as you can see. The delts, everything's coming out. Good base from before. This is a good, powerful pose for him. Now you can see he's got so much shoulder development that it does want to push down here, but his lats are flared all the way. You know, what I always tell people, get somebody behind you to just feel. It's gonna feel super tense if you're flaring them all the way. And relax. We're gonna now go into a side chest pose. So the way that I have Dean doing this one right now, we're playing around with a little bit. This is something that's gonna really play to the strengths of his physique and how big his actual structure is. So the side poses on a side chest and side tri are gonna start exactly the same in the floor, all right? You're chucking this leg in, you're spiking the calf. You never wanna forget about flexing the calf, guys, okay? A lot of guys forget to get that calf flex. So you're spiking that calf, you're pushing on that back leg, you're flaring the hamstring out, okay? Now when you're hitting any side pose, you wanna make your midsection look as small as possible. So you're always gonna end exhaled all the way. Now what I tell people to do is, what I like to do with my side chest is I take my back palm, I go right on top of my wrist like this, okay? So I can feel that resistance like when you're doing a hammer curl. Hit it right in front of you. So you go boom, feel the resistance like a hammer curl, and then row back like when you're doing a seated pulley row. And when you're rowing back, you're gonna be elevating your chest, lifting up, pulling that shoulder back. And I'm gonna show you a slight variation with him as he's doing it that's gonna look really good for his physique. So let's go hit our side chest. Go back. And now what he's doing is he's slightly rotating his torso towards the judges a little bit more. He's dipping down just a little bit. Blow it out hard. And now I'm showing so much width through his upper body. Everything is nice and tight and compact. The judges don't like to see spaces. A lot of thickness. Now, there's a couple of things that you can do from this pose to change the display. So let's try one where with your arm low, like we messed around with a little bit last night. So he just held his arm a little on the higher side. Now if he goes low, like this, you have to blow your obliques out hard because you're turning the side chest into a big oblique shot as well. Now I also think that if you're gonna hold it like this, again, you should be slightly rotated forward a little bit. And a little trick, guys, the judges are looking up at you, so tilt down towards them a bit. Now look at his leg. You see all that separation coming out in his leg? We're using the back leg to push everything out. So we're showing thickness and separation all the way up. Relax for a second. We're gonna start over. I'm gonna have him go from the floor up. I'm gonna just go step by step what your body needs to be doing when you're hitting this pose. So side chest. Feet placement is always the same, calf is spiked. Hamstring is pushed out.
Which one do you want me to do?
What do you feel more comfortable with? He's hitting the pose, his stomach is pulled in, air is exhaled. He's pushing out on his rear delt. Arm is flexed hard, he's pushing in through his chest. Showing thickness and separation everywhere. And relax. From that pose, we're gonna go right into the side tricep. Now this one, again, if you're stiff in your chest and your shoulders, is gonna be a very, very difficult one to hit. Towards the end of my career, when my injuries were real bad, I actually couldn't even hit this without horrible pain. And believe it or not, when you have the stiffness in the front, it's often coming from the back. So you're gonna wanna have a good massage therapist get into teres minor, the scapula. So teres minor, you have to approach in through the armpit. The scapula, even up into your neck, opening up all these muscles in the back, because the impingements from the front are often coming from the back. Rip that chest open too, guys. So like, if you're gonna hit all these shots, find yourself a wall where you can just really, really, really open everything up. Work on your stretches. You're gonna go 90 degrees all the way up. We'll hit pec minor a little bit more than major. Loosen up your lats. Get loose before you do these so you can hit the poses the right way. Because of how much thickness he has in his shoulders and you know, injuries and whatnot, he's a little stiff in this pose. So this is a hard one for him to hit all the way. Now, when you hit your side tricep, you're focused on the tricep, but you have to remember they're always looking at your abdomen, so you're gonna suck that stomach in and blow that air out hard. Okay? Stand up a little taller and blow the air out hard. So guys, relax for a minute. When you're hitting this pose, two mistakes that I see people make a lot. One is when they're hitting it, they don't pull the shoulder back, so they're hitting it like this. You see a lot of guys that are leaning forward, they're not pulling the shoulder back, right? Another one is I see guys that maybe because of the flexibility issue from their chest and shoulders, they're just leaning their whole body back. And when you do that, because you don't have the flexibility, which I obviously don't, when you start leaning your body back, you're sloping your stomach out at the bottom. So you want to be tall, stomach sucked in and pulled down tight. I always tell people in the front, yeah, you're gonna contract your abs. In the side, you're just sucking your stomach in, getting all the air out, making it as small as possible. Because they're not gonna see too much ab in that shot. They're gonna see your obliques. And when you exhale all that air, your oblique is what fires. So the base is the same, but you gotta remember, in the side chest, you're hiding anything you don't like. The side tricep, you're all exposed. So you've got to make sure what's exposed has the detail and is being flexed the right way. Got the base from the floor. He's pulling down and back. Boom, locking it out. Shoulders are firing, and you're gonna bring this in a little bit so you can contract the chest. So just by internally rotating that delt, you can contract this chest more and present a little bit more thickness. Now, it's very common to not know where you should go with your hands. So I want to show his hands when he's grabbing his hand. Let's just zoom in on that a little bit. The easiest, most comfortable way, guys, for you to do it is to grab on your hand with your palm down like that and pull down with your other hand while you're doing it. Now, we've seen some hilarious with somebody else that we're not going to talk about today. We've seen this one, remember? So I've seen women be able to grab their whole wrist, which is amazing. I would kill to be able to do that. But typically women have a lot more flexibility than men do. So the easiest, most comfortable and efficient way to do it is going to be this palm is going to be down, and you're going to reach back with your hand and grab your fingers. All right? That's going to be the easiest way to do it. And I'll tell you, when you're backstage and you're sweaty and oily, if you're not properly stretched out, this pose gets harder and harder to do because your hands are going to slip. So make sure you're working on that flexibility all the way up to the show so you're not sliding or just holding on for dear life on those ends of those fingers. Blow that air up. Now guys, typically our dominant side is the side that we as humans will normally hit better. you're just used to using that side more. So if you're right-handed, you're typically gonna hit shots on the right side more. Now, that is not always the case. So for that reason, practice both sides as much as you can. As much as you can, because you may start realizing your other side in certain poses might be better. You may have a great side chest on the right side, and your side tri may be a little off, and you might go to the left side and not have a good side chest on that side, but your side tri may be better. So learn both sides to the best of your ability. Let's hit that side tri one more time, and then we're gonna actually rotate into some back shots. Start from the floor, calf is flexed, hams are popping, pulling down and back, blow out hard, good, good, track the chest. And from here, he's gonna turn into his back shots, and we're gonna start with the back double bi. So guys, with the back double bi, this is the one that I think, and don't quote me on this, but I think as far as back shots goes, this is the most important pose. I think the judges really, really look at this pose because nothing is hidden. Everything is exposed. This is gonna show how small your waist is. This is gonna show the detail of your back. This is gonna show the detail of your glutes and your hamstrings. This is a very, very, very important pose. The back double bi is an unforgiving pose if you're not in shape and if you haven't done your work to bring out that detail. So with the base on this pose, what I like to do in a back double bi, and if you learn to do this, guys, it'll make a big difference, is I like to step to the side and squat into it a little bit. And what that means is, if you look at the old school photos of like Arnold and those guys, they would step back. So they would hit their shot, and before they hit it, they would step back a lot. So what most guys do now is they actually step to the side. Okay, so when you're stepping to the side, you're gonna rotate your knee out. And to get everything to fire, you're basically just sitting like you're about to do like a plie squat or a sumo deadlift. You're sitting into it, tensing the glutes and the hams, and it's gonna get everything to pop out a lot more. Now, I'm not as lean as he is, but when you're sitting into these poses, you can play around with where you need to be. You may need to bend a little bit more. You may need to be a little bit more upright to get the separation out. Everyone is different. But when you're to the side, your base is gonna be very sturdy, and you'll be able to sit and hold this pose a lot longer than when you're back and you're crooked and your hips are all crooked, and it's not gonna feel as good. So rather than stepping back, we're stepping to the side. He's flaring his knees a little bit so he can bring all the lines of his hamstring out. Also, when you have your knees flared like that, you're gonna show the sweep of your quad in the back shot. So it's gonna make your leg look thicker. We're gonna go from there up into the back double bi where your base is set, you're opening everything up, right? You're squeezing back a little bit more. So you guys have seen me having him do some like behind the neck pull downs and stuff that's considered dangerous per se. I'm having him do that because that's the same flexion that's gonna be occurring in this back double bi. And when you hit the back double bi, you also exhale your air because it's still an oblique pose even from the back, and you're gonna tighten that in all the way. So he's spiking his calf, his hamstrings are flared. Boom. Looks even to me. Air is blown out. When you blow out your air, you're vacuum packing all this in here. And relax for a minute. These are very hard poses to hit, guys. And they're the poses that you're probably practicing the least because you can't see them. But shows are won from the back. And that's why I'm putting so much emphasis into what we're doing with his back training. But this is only half of an actual back shot. The other half is your glutes and your hams. And if you have developed glutes and hams that are separated, the judges love that because it takes extra work to bring that stuff out. A lot of guys have great upper bodies, just genetically they look good, they train their upper bodies, they look good, and they don't have it downstairs, and it takes true work to bring this stuff out. So, we're gonna hit this again, and I want you to pay attention to where he's still in a growth phase, but he's got lines coming out already through his hams up into his glutes. So you can see when he hits it, he's sitting into it, this line's coming out here, showing this outer sweep. Now when the fat is completely gone, you'll be able to see the etching through his glutes, up into the shot, good. So in your back double bi, you're externally rotating your shoulders a little more than normal, which means you're bringing them back more because you want to show all this shoulder girdle and get everything displayed here the right way. Relax. These poses require so much mental focus because you're always looking at yourself from the front, right? So you look at yourself from the front so much, you kind of know. If somebody's like, let me see your tricep, you don't need a mirror to do it. You know, you may go like this, you may go like that. But if somebody says, all right, let me see, a back lat spread or back, you really have to think about it. So when you're doing these shots, think really hard about the way that it feels when you're doing it right. And the only way that you're gonna know that you're doing it right is if you videotape yourself, have somebody take a picture of yourself, or have somebody there that knows what they're doing to tell you. And once you get it right and you feel what that feels like, you need to remember that feeling. Because when you're on stage, if you're not getting that feeling, that's one thing that I used to always remember is what things felt like from the floor up. And if I was on stage and I didn't feel something right, I would know, adjust yourself real quick because I'm not hitting this right, it doesn't feel right. And I always think that it's human nature to just leave out these poses, I see guys sometimes hitting lat shots in the gym. Usually it'll be like a front lat spread, but it's rare where you have somebody be like, hey, I want to make sure my back poses are good. Guys are usually, they want the show muscles, they're looking at the stuff from the front, but when we're on the level of competition where it's not about impressing girls at the beach, nobody goes to the beach and they're like, hey ladies, see that spread? See that Christmas tree? Doesn't happen. But these poses, guys, when you turn around, this is the game-changing stuff. This is the stuff where if you're nasty from the back, it'll make up for if you're not as nasty in certain poses in the front. You win these back shots, chances are, unless your front is terrible, that you're gonna come away with a victory. So, again, we're gonna hit this back double by one more time, and then we're gonna go into a back lat spread. Good. Hold it. Hold it. Keep holding it, squeeze those glutes. And go into a back lat spread. You can relax your leg for a minute and start over. Okay. Same exact foot positioning. And he's gonna roll himself back. When he's really lean, that Christmas tree will pop out more. And now he's gonna open all the way. Good, and see he's leaning back a little bit. I didn't even have to tell him because the judges are looking up at him. So it's much different than the front lat spread where you're kind of almost forward a little bit. Relax for a second. I'm gonna show something to everybody that, again, is also very important where you're either videotaping yourself or have somebody that knows what they're looking at. So let's not even worry about your legs for now. Just open up your lats. Spread it, spread it, spread it, spread it. So guys, when you're spread all the way open, if I come back here on you and touch this, it should feel very tense, okay? So make sure you get somebody, this will help you because you can think about where their fingers are, and I used to tell people, push on my fingers. That's how you know that your lats are out all the way. If somebody's looking at you and you can see bumps in here, that's not right. Everything should be smoothed and opened up all the way. Relax. So a lot of guys, they open up and they start to open all the way up, but then they think about rotating back and then they pinch themselves back, which you don't want to do, guys. When you rotate to show the judges, you're rotating from your hips. So open, 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 stay open. Lift the chest a little higher. Nope, see, he just squeezed back at the end. Actually, I'm glad he did that because it just proved my point. Yeah. So very, very common. You see how he kind of like let go and pulled everything back? He just made himself narrower when he did that because he was thinking that he's got to be up and back. We did this actually with Billy at my house the other night. And for him, it was the opposite. He was leaning real back on his front lat spread, and he wasn't opening, but he was nailing his rear lat spread. So I was like, tell you what, do your back lat spread. He did it. I said, keep holding it. Then I went around to the front of his body, and I was like, you're actually hitting it perfect. So you've got to just mentally think to yourself, I'm doing it the same way. Some people, it's going to be almost the same in those poses. So for Dan, it's a little bit different. But he's pulling back, and he's leaning forward to spread everything out. But when he's coming back, he's not just going with his rib cage and pushing his pelvis back. He's just rotating, so he's a little more upright. Spread, 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 hold it. There you go. Everything's all the way opened up and spread. He's tilted so the judges can look up at him. That's what we want. Relax. From here, we're gonna go into an abs and thigh. This is another one that is gonna be really, really specific based to the shape of your leg and also the shape of your midsection. So if you have a very, very, very good quad, you wanna highlight your quad as much as possible in this pose, and where your strengths are gonna be where you're gonna wanna focus. So if you have a really good sweep to your quad, which I do not, if you have a very good prominent sweep to your quad, you want to highlight that sweep in this pose. If you don't, you want to make the leg look as big and separated as possible, which when you hit it, if you push out on the ball of your foot like this, it's a little trick that I see a lot of younger guys not doing. But if you go down on your toe and you're pushing out on the ball of your foot, it's easy to bring the adductors in more. Now, I'm much smaller than I used to be, also haven't squatted or really done much for my legs for most of this BPJ because of all of the injuries that I have. But when I was developed and in shape, I used to get very separated through here. So I could present the illusion of a much bigger leg because I had all the separation in here. I would have loved it if I had a nasty sweep to my quad and I could just be like, boom, there's my quad sweep. I don't. Now he's got a little bit of both going for him, which is good. So I don't even know yet exactly where I want him to hit this pose. If he's the kind of guy who when he hits it, gets striations like Jose Raymond coming up his quad, I'm gonna wanna make sure that he's not turning that away. I wanna make sure he's showing that. Now you can also show your leg in multiple ways in a shot. You can open up like this, show your inner thigh, show your sartorius separation, and then bring it back and flex it down and come into your shot here, especially if you're somebody that's really prominent right in the quad. When you're at home or when you're in the gym, practice both legs. See which leg is better. See, this leg for me is a little bit more separated, but it's also not as big. So I can show more separation on this leg, but it's not as big as the other leg. Now, if you're really, really separated, you might want to highlight that separation more and get that back leg in a spot where you can show thickness through there. If you're somebody that's got really, really good quads, for you, your back leg is going to be just as much of a weapon as the front leg. If you don't have good quads, you want to take away from that back leg because it's going to be farther away from the judges, looking smaller, so you want to highlight what you have here. As far as your abs go, if you're somebody that's blockier, you want to show the development of your abs the best way possible, but without showing the thickness in your midsection. And I find that what you can do is, rather than being straight on, so here's if I'm straight on, right? I actually used to angle away a little bit so you couldn't directly look straight at my abs. And I would twist so I could show more oblique and try to make it more about my leg. And I'm actually hiding the fact that, you know, I wasn't blocky, but I didn't have the tiniest waist through here, okay? So I'm actually angled back a little bit, and I would bring my obliques out more, which again, I'm not in that shape right now. And I would want my focus on my leg. Now, I was big up top, so I could have myself flexed up in a position where I made my waist look smaller because my arms were really big. Now, a lot of people think that you're pulling on your head in this pose. You're not. What I used to do is I used to ball my fists together like this, and I would flex my biceps really, really hard. Because you want to make your arms look as big as possible in that pose, because the bigger your arms look in that pose, the bigger your lats look, the smaller everything else is going to look. So Dane's going to go through it from start to finish. Crunch down, crunch, crunch, crunch all the way down. See, this is the pose where you crunch your abs, guys. When I said in the beginning, there's gonna be a time where you crunch, the rest are gonna be opened up. So with Dane, one of his issues is again the flexibility. So he needs to open all this up so he can stand up tall, have his arms flexed, and still be able to crunch the right way. So let's open up nice and tall. Get your arms where they feel comfortable. Good. Biceps are flexed hard. And you don't want to be pulling down on your head. You're just crunching your stomach. You're coming down and sitting into yourself. So you're not like crunching out, you're actually condensing down so everything stacks up. See, there you go. So now do that just with your arms flexed. Now he's just got big legs in general. He's got lots of inner thigh meat. He's got lots of meat here. Now, depending on where the separation and where the striations come out, we'll decide where we put this pose. And his legs are big enough also where the back leg still looks good here. We may have him be almost straight with his legs, because his legs might look good with them both flexed a little bit, which some guys do. Phil Heath takes a big stance in his abs and thigh pose, and part of that is because his inner thighs are so big and he gets very separated. So we're playing to the shape of your own body, not everybody else's. And this is one of those poses, if you look at everybody, they're doing it much different, okay? There's lots of variations to this pose as far as leg positioning goes. You've got to figure out what's best for you. So what I like for most people is to be able to hit 2 shots in this pose. So you got your base leg, you're here on the outside of your foot, right? And again, depending on what your strengths and weaknesses are, the one that's better is the one that you're gonna show more. So if you're really good like this, you're gonna show that inner thigh, right? You're gonna wanna show the separation in here. And then bring it into that, now I'm gonna lock out and show you my quad. You can slightly rotate it, move it around a little bit so they can see the movement. Now, if it's the other way around where your sweep is really good, you're gonna start here and then snap right into it. If you've got striations coming up, show them those striations, all right? It's just, you're gonna play to your own strengths. Let's go again for 4 up. Crunch, 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 good. Hit that quad, very good. And from here, we're gonna go into a most muscular. I don't know who doesn't love the most muscular. It's such a fun pose.
Pose everyone does.
Everyone loves the most muscular because you're showing everything. You're showing the arms, you're showing the traps, you're showing the shoulders, you're showing the chest. There are 3 variations of this pose. Dana's gonna hit the one that I like him to do, and we'll explain why, and then we'll explain the rest, and then we'll come back to his again. So hit your most muscular. So this is a la Kevin Levrone, my favorite bodybuilder. And this is a hands class most muscular. He's very upright, okay? If you've got good delts and capped out delts, chances are this is gonna be a good pose for you. If you're more of an arm guy, you may want to do a crab. Now, he has very, very good delts, and he gets good separation through his chest, but he's also got good ab development. So we wanna highlight all of this. He's got good arms, so he's up nice and tall. He can show both of his legs. He's showing a good, symmetrical, and powerful version of this pose, all right? Now, the hands on hips is if you're somebody with a very, very small waist, and you're very symmetrical, and your physique is pleasing, this pose will work for you. But you've got to have that real, real small midsection to make that X factor go out. So hit your hands on hips. This is the one you'll probably see the least. So your hands are gonna be like this. So this one, I often tell people to play with their leg in this pose too. And your elbows are gonna come forward a little more. You're crunching down hard. Now he does have the great delts. I mean, you're seeing the freakiness to his delts, but it's not as powerful of a pose for him, okay? And then there's the crab, which is probably the most commonly used one. But again, if you're not hitting it right, you just turn into a guy that's like yelling on stage. Also, don't do that. They don't like that. So when you hit your crab, I hit a crab most muscular, okay? So I actually hit that pose also. They're both good poses for me. I set my leg just like I'm hitting an ab shot, okay? I bring that attention to my leg first. And when I hit my crab, I basically imagine that I'm doing a cable crossover, right? So you grab those cables in the crossover and you're just crunching down like a cable crossover, but when you're doing it, you're bringing everything forward, just like a crab, and you're displaying the traps, the delts, biceps, triceps, forearms, and depending on how much you lean will depend on what you can show for your abs. So if you're somebody that comes all the way down like this, like Marcus Rule used to, you're not gonna see your abs at all. You see traps, shoulders, arms. So if you're dominant up top and you're not as good in here, then you're gonna wanna lean more. But if you've got good abs too, stay up a little taller when you do it, you know? Be tall and imposing against the other guys, especially if you've got some height. Most bodybuilders are gonna be on the shorter side. So let's say you're a super heavyweight like Dane, right? And you're going against a guy that's 2 inches shorter than you, and maybe he's got some good shots. If you walk next to him and you hit a big, powerful, most muscular like this, where you're upright and proud, you're gonna make him look that much smaller because you're owning him the way that Arnold used to own Franco, okay? You're using your height as an advantage, which in bodybuilding it never is, except for in this pose. So what I would often do, because I had both of the poses good, is I would start with my hands clasped, which is a good classic proud pose, Kevin Levrone style, and then I would step forward. Now I'm bringing myself closer to the judges, making myself look even bigger than everybody else, and go into that crab shot. For him, he feels the least comfortable in the crab, so do the crab.
Do you want me to do it with my foot forward?
Yeah. So, I think that he would need to lean down a little bit more when he does it to show more of the shoulder and chest power. Now, for his physique, it's not a bad pose, it's just simply not as good. He doesn't look as powerful as he does with the hand clap. So go back to your hands clasped. Quads are flared, abs are popping, delts are coming out, and that's the shot for him. Play with all of them, guys. See which one is best for you. So let's relax for a minute. what we're gonna do, guys, I'm gonna run him through it just like he was on stage, okay? This is how it's gonna go. You're gonna come out for your quarter turns for your summer 2 round first, okay? And like I said, you're gonna be with everybody else, and you're gonna face the front, side, back, boom. Then they're gonna shove you out. Now they may, if they're judging rear wheel tight, they may juggle you guys around a little bit. But just make sure that you're good and confident in these poses, and it's gonna go a little something like this. You walk out to the stage, everybody lines up, front relax. Good, nice and tall, stand those legs. Good, hold it. Judges are looking at everybody, they wanna see how everyone looks. Maybe there's 6 or 7 guys, maybe there's 10. Quarter turn to the right. Remember in your transitions, guys, that the judges are always looking at your stomach. Don't let your stomach relax. Stay nice and tight. Hold it. Good. Quarter turn to the right. Open it up. Good. He's leaning back a little bit because the judges are looking up at him. Hold it. Stand those hands, those glutes. Hold it. They look at this one for a long time, those back shots. They want to see your hams and glutes. Quarter turn to the right. Good. Look forward. Keep that air blown out. There you go. Face front. And now what they'll typically do here is they'll say thank you, and you step off. You go backstage, you have a sip of water, you circle back around, you're gonna come out with that same lineup again. And now they're gonna run you through your mandatory poses. And it's gonna go something very similar to this. Front double bicep. Down those legs, good. We're gonna look at this one real close, guys. Good. Keep practicing, make sure you're staying on those legs the whole time. Relax. When they say relax, you go back to your front relax pose, whether they call the next pose or not. When they say relax, you go, be prepared to go into your relax pose because they might want to talk to each other for a minute and you don't want to look like you're just slouching around not doing anything. Never, ever, ever show that you're tired on stage, that you're slouching, that you're not confident in what you're doing up there. You can do this shit all day. Front lat spread. Good, hold it. Relax. Side chest. Good. Stand on that hamstring, hold it. Side tricep. Pull down, hold it, blow that air out. Relax, face the rear. Back double bicep. Stay on those hams and glutes, guys. Always have that in your head. Hold it. Back lat spread. Spread, 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 spread. Good. Hold it. Squeeze the glutes. Relax. Stay to the back. Now, guys, when they call your back lat spread, he made that much harder for himself by not readjusting himself. So that muscle never got a break. So when you're in your back double bi, practice both legs anyway, because you may be good on both sides. But regardless, when you're in your back double bi and they call that lat spread, when you're coming down, lift your leg up just for a second, reset yourself again. Draw attention to yourself that you're resetting perfectly. Just that lift from the floor, releasing that tension. You're giving them the muscle a chance to chill out, relax for a second, and then reset. By not doing that, you're keeping it under tension so much longer. It's like doing like Tabata in the gym when you're holding dumbbells out or you're holding yourself in a stretch position. So let's go to that back lat spread again. Good. Face front. Abdominals and thighs. Good. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Very good. Stay on the leg. Relax. Your favorite, most muscular. We're gonna say it exactly like that too. Good. Stay on the legs. Good. Get that chest flare now. There you go. You always got to be tensing everything, guys, at all times. Think about it in your head. And relax. Now, if you got a tight class, they're going to move you guys around. They're going to want to see this person versus this person. Maybe they want to see this person versus this person. So you're going to be hitting these poses a minimum of what I just had him do. So to start, this is how you're going to want to start. You're going to want to work yourself to a point where you're posing for an hour at a session. Now, maybe you can only do that once a week, but you bet your ass that if you can't pose for an hour, you ain't going to be able to stand on stage, no matter how fast it is. If you can pose for an hour, you will be able to stand on stage for 5-10 minutes, wherever it is, like a breeze. And I always felt when I was on stage that I could have kept on going as long as I needed to. I felt that I was hitting my poses perfectly because I put so much time in working up to my shows. I would do 3 different hour-long sessions with Kenny a week. And when I was on my own, I would practice as much as I could. In between my poses at the gym, I was practicing. In the bathroom, I was practicing. Whenever you could practice, get it in and hold the poses. Start out with 5 seconds, work your way up to 10. If you can hold a pose for 30 seconds, you're amazing. Because that is brutally hard. How tired are you just from doing what we did?
Pretty tired.
It's like you did like a body workout.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like
if you pose hard for like 10 minutes straight, like we took breaks and stuff. It's harder than any workout you've ever done. I'll be drenched in sweat.
What we'll do when we get closer is we'll utilize this as a tool to burn calories and to bring his definition out without spending extra sessions on the treadmill or the step mill. Because I'll run through this when I'm not going to be talking in the way I am to you guys, and he'll get no breaks, and he'll have to hold it longer, but I will teach him to have the condition that he needs, and it's going to bring everything out, and he will sweat a lot. Chris Cormier used to do that. He would throw on his music, and he would just pose, 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 and that brings out detail and it burns calories. So we haven't done this yet. I wanted you guys to see the difference in his physique from the reveal video to now. He's definitely leaner with the extra weight. Still going to keep putting size on him. And then 8 weeks out, no, we said 9 weeks out actually.
9 weeks.
So 9 weeks out, because we went over everything last night, we're going to do a quick reevaluation, and that's probably when I'm going to speed up the actual fat loss a little bit more. Now, he's still going to be eating a lot and growing into this show, but whereas now all I care about is size, 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 which is coming nicely. This is where I start being like, all right, let's pull a little fat and see what happens. Let's pull a little bit of calories. Let's tweak some things around and see what happens. Let's change some supplements around. Let's see what happens to his physique. And I think from 9 weeks out till 6 weeks out, you're probably going to see a big, big change. We'll probably show him again then. And then you're going to see it, you'll see it in the training videos as we get closer, differences in his face, differences in separation. And as we get closer to the show, when I do have him hit some poses, you're going to see the improvements to the way he hits the poses, how long he can hit them. And you all, if you're doing a show, you all need to be doing this. It's so, so, so important. Don't go through all the work and all the dieting and all the preparation to not display yourself the right way. There are probably other instructional videos that are out there on YouTube. I know Gary Udit, who runs the North Americans and Masters, I know that he had a video that I used when I was young. It's got to be out there. It's probably on the NPC website. Ask around. Maybe you can email Gary Udit. Sorry, Gary. I might get a lot of emails now. But there is really good instructional material out there, and you've got to master it. Because this is what you're getting judged at. Not your hard work, not how hard you dieted, not how much smelly ass cod you ate like the guys that are in my office. You're getting judged on what you're displaying on stage, so you damn well better do it perfectly. And that's Project Freak. I don't know what volume we're on.
Volume 11.
We'll see if we ever get the long lost Akeem footage out.
Yeah.
I have some funny stuff to tell you about that when we get off here. And now people are going to wonder where it is. We have a great video that you guys, by the time you watch this video, we'll see of him and Billy training back. And we're going to be doing quite a bit with him because he's so dominant in the front. I want to bring his back out as much as we can. So we're going to show you guys some very cool stuff every few weeks for the back. Each muscle has the ability to be trained so many different ways, but for him, I'm not going to spend time on his dominant muscles. Let's kill this muscle some more now on something that you're genetically gifted on. We need to bring up the weaker areas. So if you guys have questions on anything, you know where to find me. Please follow Dane online. He's pretty cool, actually, and pretty
I'd
funny
like
guy.
to think so.
We told him in the beginning, you know, might ruin these videos when we show your personality, and I might not want to watch them anymore.
Yeah, right.
I'm just kidding. So that's Project Freak. I'm PG Braun. This is Dane, the Freak Sellers.
Keep watching. It's going to be fun from now on.